Okay. This might be a little bit, let's see if I can get this thing up and running. Yeah. Why is this doing this? Okay. Yeah, for some reason, this takes a little bit to set up here, so I'm just kind of doing some last minute stuff here, and I'll kind of get everything underway. Because for some reason, it doesn't allow me a shareable link until I actually have it sent through. So give me 1 second here for those of you guys who want to know what's on the wrist. Pollen is everywhere, man. I'm in the backyard. But anyways, I'm wearing my Tag Heuer Aqua Racer. Awesome watch, or at least I like it anyways. Here we go. No, I just want the link. Okay. Now, just want to copy this. I don't know why it's taken so long for me to get this thing uploaded, but it is what it is. Okay. Oh my goodness. There we go. And let's just show on the road here. Oh my goodness. Okay. Now, if I can get this working properly, I don't know why it does weird stuff like that. Okay. There we go. And there we go. Okay, now that's all out of the way. Let's kind of just break everything down. So, a couple of things just on the agenda. First of all, I'm going to answer a couple questions that I got in the Q&A first of all. And yeah, obviously, did like the content. Make sure to drop a like down below. Subscribe to see more awesome stuff in the future. And that is what it is. Also, as I said earlier on the wrist, I'm wearing my Tag Heuer Aqua Racer. But now, first question that I was asked, or at least one question anyways. I was asked about what are my opinions just in regards to... Oh, welcome. Anyways, I was asked questions in regards to teaching experiences. What's been the craziest thing that's probably happened to me? I think the entire year that I taught over at... I taught at H.E. Barrio, which is a junior high, Catholic junior high over on the west side of the city in Edmonton. And that was it was a pretty crazy experience, but it was also a very good experience, right? That whole year was kind of just a very different experience compared to what I was used to. I don't really want to get into too many specifics in regards to that. I mean, if you were one of my former students, you know what was crazy and what wasn't, but hey, that is what it is. Now, the reason why I don't really like to talk a whole lot about technical stories is just in regards to legality purposes. Generally speaking, as a teacher, you're not really supposed to disclose certain things. I mean, some people do, some people don't, but I would rather err on the side of caution and not get myself, in trouble with either, district or such and such. I mean, certain things are kind of fair game, but that is what it is. The other thing, which I wanted to very briefly talk about, is that before I really get into content, is that I was asked a question in regards to a hockey question, which I can bump that in there, but a hockey question, and that was just who do I think will win or who do I want to win the Montreal and Jets series? Personally, I mean, like I like Winnipeg and I like Montreal. I like both teams per se. I think they're great teams. I think they got some good upside and good talent on them. But overall, I think I'm going to pick Montreal. I do like Winnipeg as a team, but I think I'm kind of just a little bit butthurt about them knocking the Oilers out in 4 games. So I kind of just want Montreal to kind of go deep in the playoff run, and kind of the whole part of them knocking out Toronto. But anyways, so I was asked a question in regards to electric vehicles. Now, electric vehicles, I'm not really going to talk specifically about hybrids. I would rather talk mostly about just electric vehicles in general. And I think that it's something that not a lot of people get credit for, in the sense, but bringing them to market. And a lot of people think that electric vehicles are something. What? Okay. I was talking about electric vehicles right now. I can bounce into that in a little bit later. Says roll the losing dice. No, I don't have an H22 swapped Prelude. I have a F20B. So it's a JDM F20B out of the Accord SART. So that's what I currently have in my 3rd gen Prelude. But I mean, does it follow some of the regular parts of the swap? Yes. If you haven't seen my swap video that I did, just talking about some guidelines about what you need for the swap. Yeah, I do have that. If you want a list of what's different compared to the H22 versus the F20B, I haven't done an H22 swap, but I mean, that one is way more documented than the F20B. But if you want, you can you find me on Instagram, BA4_Massey. And you can ask me there, and I could probably get you a list of stuff that was different. If you have any other questions about that. What? Okay, so we've got another question about Tesla. So I'll get back to that one with the electric cars. What ECU do I run? I run a it's made by this. It was a P28 originally. I had a friend of mine, he rebuilds and he does custom ECU tunes. It's called Compu, and I could probably get some contact information for you if you want that, but he rebuilds ECUs. And so right now it's just a P28. It's chipped, and I'm running a custom map that is based off of a JDM B18C, like the Type R engine, and then it's tweaked for fuel. And just to make it so it's not going to be running really funky or anything. But yeah, because the F20B, that's one thing that a lot of people don't really know. It's actually quite hard to find a base map, or it was because the very first year that I had it, I ran it off of the P13. I'm pretty sure is that's a Prelude ECU. I ran it off a H22A1 tune with a P13 in there, and it ran like crap. So I wouldn't suggest going that route if you have an F20B in the engine, F20B in the bay. I wouldn't run a P13 because they'll bog it out and it'll make it run weird because it's different engine, right? So don't do that. So then when I got it tuned, we couldn't find an F20B ROM, so we basically had to kind of custom make one in that aspect. So yeah, that was the only difficult or really, really difficult thing in regards to that. Okay, you got a P06. Who's your tuner? That's my question. But do you? A fuel regular? No, I don't. I'm not running anything different in regard. Yeah, no, it's all good. Ask all the questions you need. I'm not running anything different on. An adjustable fuel regulator? No, I'm not. I'm not running anything that's like adjusting it. The only you're talking about like a manual adjustment, right? Not like a adjustment on the ECU, because any of your tweaking on whichever ROM you're running, it depending on the computer program that you're running, like the program that they're using, an individual tuner can go in and tweak the ROM itself, right? Now I don't claim to be a tuner, and I'm not claiming to be the mad scientist, right? Because I'm not. I have buddies who are. Oh yeah. No, I don't run a manual one. It's all done through the ECU. So I don't know what you're set at. I would, for a manual adjustment, I don't run that. I'm just running basically pretty much stock components when it comes to like fuel and, you know, like that stuff. Hopefully that does help. Oh, okay. What do I think of Tesla and electric cars? I think, well, first of all, electric cars are pretty good. Sorry, took a little while to get back to that one. I think the electric cars are good and they do have a purpose, right? I don't think, I'm not going to be the person who hates on electric vehicles. I really just don't like that. I do think they have a place in, you know, like our society. I just think the way that they're marketed is just really poor. I don't believe in the marketing and the way they're being marketed, or at least towards us. I don't like that. Yeah, no problem. If you have any other questions, just shoot them down there and I'll get to them. But yeah, I just don't like the way that they're marketed towards us as being, you know, eco-friendly stuff. And I mean, yes, there are some, you know, health benefits. Mainly speaking, I think one of the biggest benefits that a lot of people will talk about is I would say the extended tailpipe, meaning that usually, like, because electricity production doesn't necessarily just happen, you know, from solar, from wind, and all these, you know, renewable kind of, as they would say, renewable energy resources, right? It can be done by a coal-fired plant. There's other things like hydroelectric, although that's a whole controversial topic in and of itself. I just think that the way that they're marketing them, and they're saying with that extended tailpipe, is that we're getting the smog and the pollution of vehicles out of the city and removing it to somewhere else, right? And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's like it's just that we can't go under the guise of saying that it's better than it really is. Yes, it removes it from like our immediate sphere, but it's kind of, in my opinion, it's the exact same as, instead of dumping our garbage at the end of our driveway, we go and we, you know, have it and put it into a landfill. Landfill is just as messy and it's just going to take up the exact same amount of space, per se, but it's somewhere there. So I obviously I know that there's different electrical, you know, forms of electrical production, but that's just one that, you know, I think that we should stop marketing it as the extreme clean thing that it is, per se, and just market them as a good technology or an alternative technology, because I think honestly they are good. Do I think the Sasquatch is real? Let me get to that one. That's a really funny one. Yeah, would it be okay to drive one in the city? I think yes, but no, right? Okay, so if you have an issue with range anxiety, is the biggest issue right now. It's not the problem is we can't produce the power. It's the problem of storage, right? The other thing that I really want to talk, or I'd want to talk a little bit about, is just with the batteries themselves. And I understand that a lot of companies are now trying to, you know, recycle these batteries, but they're not lithium ion batteries can't really be recycled and reused in the same way that, you know, the traditional lead acid batteries are. So we have to find new ways to, you know, basically break apart these batteries and get the lithium out, you know, the cobalt and all these other things out that are, you know, really damaging to the environment as is. And, you know, the mines that they mine these elements in aren't exactly the most environmentally friendly. I mean, yes, there are mines for other things in the car, and right, the thing is the same thing. I would say, kind of like if you think about watches, right? And what I mean by that is watches in the sense of mechanical versus, you know, a quartz piece. Is quartz technically the superior technology? Theoretically, yes, right? Theoretically, it is more accurate. Hence why, you know, Seiko, when they really introduced these back in the 60s, just, you know, wiped everybody's butt with everything with their accuracy competitions. And I wouldn't say they're bad, but they're not the same. There's a, you know, an element to driving, you know, something that is like, you know, has an actual, like, I mean, a gasoline and internal combustion engine, as opposed to an electric vehicle. And some people would say they're soulless. You know, I mean, gobs of torque is really, I would say, really exciting. I mean, being in a Tesla when they accelerate it's a nice feeling, but overall, I mean, like, each to their own. Each has their preference. Do I think it'd be okay to just drive one in the city? Yeah, I guess there's no real issues with it, so long as you don't. You're very limited on your range, right? I mean, most of the EVs coming out don't have a high range, right? So once we find a way to actually get a range up above, 1,000 kilometers, I think that would be the best. I would say the best kind of thing. Okay. Actually, okay. So the Sasquatch thing, I'll deviate and then I'll answer this question. So, do I think the Sasquatch is real? I mean, no. I don't really think so. I mean, prove me wrong. I honestly, here's the thing. I actually kind of do believe in certain kind of mythical creatures, but that would be more like, or maybe like I want to believe in them. And that would be like, something like Nessie or, maybe the Ogopogo, stuff like that. Okay, so he says, rolls a losing die. Okay, he says he got a Seiko quartz. I'd really like to get working. How do you unscrew the back plate? Okay, so it's got 6 notches. Okay, so generally speaking, it depends on the case back, right? You're saying there's 6 notches? Like, I'm trying to think, because sometimes, like for instance, on the back of this, Tag Heuer, you have like these notches, and basically you'd have a case removal tool, and you would basically adjust the legs and the little fittings, and they pop in there, and basically you'd unscrew it like such, and then you just replace the battery. Should check out the what's this? Yeah, no, but hopefully yeah. So, but you only really need 3 3 points for it to basically turn it off. So once you get those little things in there, I could here. Let's see if I'll get a link to it, one of these, and I'll just kind of show you what a case back removal tool looks like here. Actually, I'll just pull it up on my phone. It's more easier than I can show you what it looks like. So here's something that they would be using is something along the lines of, actually this is a better picture, something along the lines of this. And this is just off of this on Amazon. And here, let me just turn up the brightness on this. There. So that's on Amazon. Basically, you take these tiny little feet, and they're all kind of designed to go into different pegs, and are like different, like I would say, when you call them pegs in the back of the case, the notches, and then they would go into there, and you basically adjust it to fit the specific watch, and then you'd unscrew it like that. That's what it would be. Yeah, and those aren't very expensive. I think you can get one of those, like a full kind of watchmaker repair kit, although not necessarily the best quality, but you can get those for maybe about, I'm thinking about probably about, I think, 30-40 bucks. Okay. Then yeah, I wouldn't. Oh, okay. So said you should check out the Sasquatch Chronicles. 400 episodes of real encounters. Maybe I will when I have time, if I'm not doing all the other crazy stuff I have to get done. Okay. So you said you said you tried with needle nose pliers and ended up scratching the back. Yeah. Generally speaking, needle nose won't really do it for you. You're going to need at least one other, like, kind of like, that's why usually they have the 3 points on those things, because 2 points usually they're not. I mean, sometimes they are directly across from each other, but usually they're kind of they're in different positions. But no, I would suggest investing in a case back removal tool, or you can go to your local jeweler, and they'll be more than happy to get it off for you and put a battery in it. Mind you, it's not going to be as cheap. I mean, a battery usually, I mean, I don't know where you are, if you're in the United States or whatever, but batteries are usually about, I think I pay about between $5 and $7 for one, depending on, which one it is, where I go. But yeah, that's kind of those, or that thing per se. Yeah. Removal tool for, okay, you said, yeah, that'll do. I mean, that one should work. I don't know which one it is, but they're pretty much all built kind of, if they're the cheaper ones, they're gonna be built to a similar standard, whether or not they're, I mean, it's gonna work for you. If you're just gonna use it on like some Seikos and maybe the occasional Citizen, maybe an Orient, stuff like that, there's no big issue on that. They're pretty cheap. So, but I mean, if you're gonna be trying to take apart, like Omega case backs and stuff like that, like, higher end stuff, maybe Tag Heuer or stuff like that, Rolex, then I would suggest, investing in some more quality tools. Is it for my stuff? Honestly, when I start messing around with the stuff that's cheaper, I don't really mind. But if it's more expensive stuff, I don't really want to be messing around with like quote unquote cheap material, like cheap tools, because the chances of you wrecking something kind of goes up. That's just my opinion. Which actually kind of be interesting because, a little bit of a segue. The question that I was asked again, I got through my Instagram, was what's your opinion on the Rolex bubble and gray market resellers? And I understand that, like, I could make a whole video about that. Maybe I will, because it is something that is pretty interesting. But gray market, like, I mean, first, the distinguishing between the gray market and just your normal retail market. Your gray market is like the normal retail market would be someone who has the license to sell that product. For instance, if you are, like, example, Foot Locker here in Canada has a license to sell Nike, Puma, Adidas, all these shoes, right? Whereas if I buy those shoes from like Foot Locker, or even direct from company like Nike, and I start selling them out the back of my car, that's technically, like, I could technically have a business license, and you see all these people propping up little places, and they're reselling these shoes, and they're not officially licensed by Nike, right? They don't have a license with Nike to sell them. Especially, I'm mostly talking about Jordans because that's what I like. But yeah, so there's that kind of aspect to it, right? And what they're doing is they're reselling the product to you. It could be brand new, but they just don't have that official license. It's not illegal like the black market, where they're dealing with counterfeit goods or whatever like that. But it is not a quote unquote legal, like, they don't have the license to sell it. As that's why they're not like an official partner, like an official trading partner. They would just be a gray market partner. Not saying they can't sell it, but usually when it comes to watches, they just don't have the warranty. That's what's there. So when they're talking about that, what'll happen, and what I've seen happening, like, a lot recently, I mean, obviously with the Rolex bubble, what they're doing is, people are buying these watches. There's a huge long wait list because you obviously supply and demand, blah, 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 kind of fun stuff, basic social studies curriculum. And then all of a sudden you have the demand is way outstripping, the supply. So prices on the used market go up because Rolex isn't just going to basically treat their product like stock, right? Or a stock, where it's like it could fluctuate with market value every single day. Surprise, you go and you pay 16 grand for a product, the next day you pay 5 grand, depending on what the marketplace is at for desirability and availability. They're not gonna play that game, obviously. With I would say tangible goods, in the sense that usually they're not doing that just because it anger customers and stuff like that. So even though the price of stuff, because people want these product, they're shooting up in value, and that's kind of the issue. So what people do is they'll buy it and then they'll resell it, or they'll these gray market resellers will come in. Maybe they'll have like a place like Joma Shop is a gray market reseller, and they'll buy stuff, and then they will from or maybe an AD authorized dealer. So close out, maybe they're closing shop and they need to offload some product, or maybe they just need to offload some slow selling product. So they sell these things with some, maybe usually it's a desirable model. Usually the guys come in, they're like, you know what, we'll take these junk things off your hands that can't sell if you give us some of the really good stuff. Usually mitigates their loss. And so the authorized dealer will take that kind of deal, and then all of a sudden you see these Daytonas or Submariners or Datejust or certain things going for Sky Dwellers, Yachtmaster, stuff like that, going for sometimes 1.5 to 2 times retail, and that's how they're getting some of the stock. And then and I mean, like, a lot of people will be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that they're letting them do that. Well, I mean sometimes if you have like a relationship with the authorized dealer, if you start reselling the stuff and you don't actually keep it, they'll cut off that relationship and they won't sell you the stuff. There is that case, the lawsuit in Chicago that's currently ongoing, where these this huge AD was accused of basically selling Rolexes to their buddies out the back door, and then they would sell these watches on the gray market, and then basically put the money back into the business and enriching the owners. So basically, they're being accused of money laundering. Now, I would say that, yeah, in that case, it's kind of bad. I would also, like, a lot of people would just say, oh, Rolex just make more pieces, or certain companies just, Audemars Piguet or stuff like that. Integra second gen. Oh, okay. I'll keep going. Okay, I got your question. And I'll continue on with this kind of topic just for like a little bit, and then I'll get that question for you. But yeah, so what I was saying was just in general with the way that works is just like with the gray market. It's not that we have like an issue with those people. I don't have an issue with people, buying and selling. I'm technically I would say I'm technically a broker. Like, I buy and sell watches. It's what I do, right? So I have zero problem with people buying and selling stuff. It's just when you're scalping, that gets a little bit kind of eh. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, demand creates product prices to rise. That's a natural occurring thing, right? So I don't have an issue with that. What I do take issue with is just, I think when people buy based off of hype and they don't buy based off of substance, that's my thing. But as far as resellers go, I don't really have a problem, because like at the end of the day, you're gonna complain about the reseller about the Rolex that you can't get, or you don't want, or that you want but you can't get. But then all of a sudden, when you want a piece for your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, they can get it to you for like 30-40% off MSRP, and you're laughing, and you're so happy with them. They'll be your best buddy because they can find you. Then they usually have these connections. And so you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Either you abstain from that and you only buy your stuff, full, basically, I wouldn't say full sticker, but you're buying it at the AD and no other places, maybe used. I mostly deal with used timepieces, but that's like, you can't have the cake and eat it too, if that makes sense. If you're going to complain about that, you're going to complain about the resellers and everything like that, and the gray market dealers, you can't use them then. Otherwise, it's just hypocritical, in my opinion. But anyways, roll losing dice. You got another question. What swap would you recommend in a 91 Integra second gen? That's a DA, right? 9093. If it's not a GSR, which is the B17, which is a pretty interesting engine, not a very common one. That VTEC engine, I would suggest going, like, depends on budget, right? What's the budget, man? Just shoot me a number, and then we'll say. Because I mean, the thing with vehicles and project cars is, okay, so you got an RSB B18A. Okay, yeah, I get that. So OBD1. What's your budget? What's your budget looking at? How much do you want to spend? And then I could probably give you a recommended swap. If it's sub probably like 3,000, I would stick with a B series. I mean, you could go H or F if you wanted. I don't. Okay, yeah, 3K. Is that 3K US or 3K Canadian? I mean, it's not that big of it. I mean, yeah, it's probably about 30% off. So I mean, you probably get about close to 4K if you're going, stateside, or if you were in Canada with 3K, quote unquote, like 3K US. But yeah, I would highly recommend just dropping in probably a B18C1, or you could do a B20 VTEC maybe. The one thing, you could also, B20 VTEC's good for the extra torque. I've heard that the cylinder walls are a little bit thinner on them compared to the B18. So you can go with the B18 if you like that idea. Bright B18, if you use the B18 that you already have in there, you can do a bottom end B18, like a B18A, and then do your top end, like, or you could do the B18B1. I mean, I think either one would be fairly efficient. I mean, it's been a long time since I looked at the Integra engines per se. I mean, I'm not really entirely like versed within between the difference of the B18A and the B18B. I'm pretty sure. You know what? Let me just do a quick search on here. Not to be I don't want to be an idiot when I say this. Yeah, so you can, it looks like that. Yep. Okay. So yes, that is possible. I'm not making that stuff up. I'm not crazy. But yeah, so the B18A, yeah, I was, yeah. So B18A1 and B18B1, that kind of stuff. Those are perfectly fine candidates for a VTEC head, so long as you want to do that. Although with how much, like you could also import an engine. I had good luck importing my engine. I got it from a vendor out in Calgary, and they were pretty pleasant to deal with. But yeah, they were, yeah, like, so you could also go that route. It is a bit more expensive, but it is what it is. And I like, you could go that route just for more torque. Going to B20 route instead of the B18, so like an LSV Tech. Yeah, that's that route. Or you could just go with a B18C1. It depends on what you want to do with it afterwards. If you just want to go for an all motor build, I would, I would stick with like a, yeah. Oh, yeah. Pulling one off of the CRV. Yeah. So the B20. There's the B20 B2 and the B20 Z2. I believe is the ones off the CRV. The Z2 had the slight bump in compression, I believe, and that one's in the 99. 2000 to 2001 before they changed generations. Those ones have 146 horsepower. The other ones I think have like 126 or something like that. The B18 B like the or sorry B20 B2s are gutless slow things, and like the CRVs, my parents have had a couple of them. Great cars though, bulletproof, right? Bulletproof vehicles. You can drive them into the ground. Everything else will rust off around it, and everything will fall apart. But you can drive that thing forever, pretty much. Yeah. I would say if you want to go that route, it depends. Like it honestly depends on what your end goals are, right? You have to. That's what I think. The biggest thing is knowing what your end goals are with the vehicle, and then you can kind of go with that, right? Because if you're planning on doing the swap, right, and then all of a sudden you're wanting to go turbo, then all of a sudden you're wanting to do this, I would just say build like for what you kind of have in mind, and build your like your structure and your hardware around your eventual goals. I mean, it doesn't have to be done today, right? But you want to minimize the amount of overlap that you're in work, right? You don't have to pull out the engine 3 or 4 times because every single time you want to add something new, right? Like you preferably do it the one and done philosophy. Although the problem with the one and done philosophy is just it gets expensive, right? So like not everybody wants to drop 10K on a swap and turbo build. And like, I'm not talking just cheap turbo build, like an eBay turbo build. I'm talking about, forged rods and pistons and, like some crazy turbo that's like not some cheap thing. No eBay specials here. But yeah, I think it just depends on what your goal is. If you want a turbo, if you want a supercharger afterwards, just kind of build it with that in mind. I mean, obviously, I think there was a video done a long time ago. It's like how to turbo your Honda over the weekend. And then there's like he did it in the bay. There is that route, but it's just generally speaking, you don't want to limit yourself in terms of like overall. What would I say? You just don't want to like have to do the same thing 4 or 5 times, right? That's just my opinion. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that for anybody, really, because realistically, that's just a waste of everybody's time then. I mean, like the thing is like for instance, with my Prelude, I put the engine in the bay, and I did it on a very limited budget. In fact, that's one of probably the biggest missteps I ever did with the car was I didn't budget properly for it, and I ended up due to kind of a freak scenario, I ended up in the hole probably about $1,500 that I owed to my parents. They had to bail me out on that, and then I paid them back within the month ish. Yeah, about a month, but I mean, just always make sure you're budgeting properly for something. Don't just you don't I don't I'm trying to think. There's a story in or a kind of a proverb per se in the Bible talking about, I mean, I don't want to get religious or anything, but just about how you're basically counted as a fool if you don't weigh the cost before starting a project. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. You don't want to be the person who has something half done and everybody makes fun of you, right? the project car is sitting on the jack stand. It's been there for 4 or 5 years. So always make sure you know what you're getting into. Okay, did you cut the frame at all? Oh, no, I didn't. Sean from One Fun Ride, he's an awesome guy. He manufactures the mounts for the third gen swap. I honestly wish I went with One Fun Ride. I didn't. I went with ESP, and they have they have a pretty good track record for stuff. But I went with them because it was in a group buy. If you want to buy them now, I wouldn't buy from ESP. I'd go directly from One Fun Ride. He's basically the OG, the godfather of the community. So just buy from him. But so when I put them in, no, I didn't have to cut the frame. It is a bit of a tight fit. There isn't a ton of room per se. I would say there's more room on the because. Okay, so you got your mounts from him also, from ESP or from One Fun Ride. You had to modify them. Oh, was that from? Oh, from Sean? Huh. Which engine were you swapping in? I'm assuming you're part of the Facebook group, the third gen Facebook group. Then I haven't. Yeah. No. Okay, so you're asking if you saying you had to modify them. I wouldn't. I didn't have to modify mine from ESP. Okay, did you? Okay, yes. Interesting. I've never really heard of anything, for modifications. I every single one that I've come into contact with has always been a direct just drop in. Yeah, so I'm not entirely certain what that was. Or what did you say you had to modify? This is news to me. I mean, I don't know if there was really any issues. I mean, I'll back up Sean for his product. I mean, he makes good product. I mean, he had some issues with that guy out in Australia, but I think I think there's problems on both ends, right? Of that, I think that there's a little bit of issues. Okay, so you had to modify them. What did you have to modify to get it to fit? You just want to type that in right away. Which is probably a bit of a delay anyways. Yes, no. Because I mean, I haven't really encountered anybody who had to modify anything. Not perfect. Oh, wait. Oh, you had to cut the holes bigger. Interesting. Shoot. Okay, so what? Horrible trying to get the engine in and all three of them to work. Interesting. I didn't have any issues with my ESP ones. And I mean, just not a. I wonder. I don't know. Maybe it was a weird batch, to be honest. I haven't really had anybody having any issues with them. I mean, like other than that one guy in Australia who every single time it's mentioned, he just has to blow up the thread and then it becomes into a shouting match, which I've already taken my side on it, so I don't really. I'm like, whatever. It is what it is. But you're trying to. I would just, man, if you could like, I'm maybe you do follow me on Instagram, maybe you don't, but send me some of the. I'm assuming you have pictures of the swap. Send me them. Then I can. I just want to know because then I don't want to like. Obviously, I don't get paid. There's no sponsorship, right? I like, from Sean. I mean, he's a super cool guy, right? He's super chill. So, but I mean, it's kind of small business owner to small business owner. I'll support the guy, right? But yeah, I haven't really had any issues. I mean, I just didn't use his product. That's the only thing. So I can't speak from experience. But you're saying, okay, so did you have to cut the hole? Did you have to like what grade of bolts were you using? Were they the stock bolts and they were just the holes were too small, or what was it like? They were misaligned? Like, because I mean, like for instance, let's say someone bumped the jig that they were made on. Because I think what ends up happening is he kind of oversees. I don't think he oversees the direct construction of them, right? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, included all new bolts. Interesting. Okay. Oh yes, yes, yes. No, he does. He does include new bolts. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you're saying the holes were too. What does he include all new bolts? No, he. Okay. Yeah, he said he included all new bolts. Yeah. So that, yeah, because I remember there's a big kerfuffle on the thread about that. But yeah, no, I haven't personally ever seen any like issues. That's just my thing. So you're saying that so the bolts basically were too large for the holes. Did the bolts line up with the hole size? Were they fine with what was on, like, the actual physical mounting places on the firewall of the vehicle though, or like, the well, no, not the firewall. I'm talking like, I guess, in the bay. You know what I mean? Did they line up in the sense, like, were the bolts the proper size though for the holes in the vehicle? Yes, no, maybe so. They were close. Okay, so the frame, yeah, huh? I wonder if he just mixed up the bolts. Although I don't think that would be something that he would do. I don't know. Yeah, huh? That's weird. Like, really bizarre. Didn't line up on the driver's side. Hmm. It could. What I've heard from mount kits, and this is gonna sound like, okay, casting holes are off, or my car was a little different. Yeah, okay. So here's the thing. So they're based off of whatever he designed. He probably based it off of his chassis, right? Or the couple chassis that he was working with, and his test mules. So now I don't know what like the accident history on those was, but let's say that your car was in some sort of accident and it pushed the frame in a little bit, or there's something that happened. Over time stuff wears differently, right? I mean, these cars are like 30 something years old, but I mean, I had to kind of mess around just a little bit with my mounts, but not like, there was mostly just kind of like, I had to get it like basically what was it? What did we use? I think we used a crowbar per se to basically kind of hold the engine at a certain angle so we could basically kind of align it better. But now that it's in, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I dropped the 3 mounts out so I could take out the transmission, I guess now 2 years ago, so I could do my clutch on it. But yeah, no, I would say that the issue might be I don't know. I mean, the casting might be off, or like the jig might have bounced or something, or who knows? It could have been a one-off issue, or there's a little bit like maybe maybe the mounts or anything could have been stretched or something on the. Yeah, exactly the same. The crowbar was required. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I like, for me it wasn't like, oh, like I had to like crazy yank on it. It was basically just kind of push it in, and then like the engine would kind of like, because it tilted, I think, it tilted forward and we had to push it back a little bit to get it in. But other than that, once it was in, it was in. Yeah. Speaking of which, I should probably move on to the third question the other question that I was asked, just in regards to BMW versus Mercedes. I bet you probably have an opinion on that one. But so when I was asked that question, BMW versus Mercedes, I would say I personally pick BMW. That's just me. I've owned a couple BMWs. I like BMWs. Yeah, that's my kind of thing. But that's I would say, like, they're both storied companies. They both have an awesome history. But I personally will go with BMW. I think, creating kind of like the first motor car, Benz did that. And, they've had a prolific career in the sense of making automobiles. And I do think that, Mercedes has done a very good job of marketing as the premier luxury German vehicle to kind of own, right? A lot of people don't view BMW as a luxury vehicle because originally when it was designed, it wasn't really intended to necessarily be the luxury juggernaut that it is today. It was more designed to be the sporty, fun, enthusiast vehicle, which I feel like some of the newer ones are, losing that sporty, fun, enthusiast edge. So it's like when you're comparing like, AMG versus M cars, I just think that BMW just takes the edge because it's like they were designed as enthusiast cars first, and then after were like per se, like they design them as enthusiast cars. They're not just like boring, just they're not like a Hyundai or something. Not that Hyundai makes bad cars. I mean, they used to make trash in the 90s, but now they're decent. But yeah, like I would say that overall Mercedes does a good job with making certain vehicles, and go back, like ascertaining to the luxury division of the like market as an aspirational item, because a lot of people want Mercedes as an aspirational item. People want BMW too. It's just that I say BMW is a more sporty company, and because I like sport, like in the sense that like enthusiast-based vehicles, I just think that they do a better job producing enthusiast-based vehicles. And I mean, the other thing I would just say is like longevity, right? I mean, how many Mercedes do you really see from the 90s rolling around? Not very many, or even the 80s. You don't see a ton. Mind you, you see like the very select few, but it's like you'll see tons of 3 Series still rolling around the road, and the 5 Series. People love these cars, and it's like they keep them. And it's like, yes, I understand a lot of people was like, oh, the 90s and early 2000s, especially with the E36, E39, E46 generations, E3 Series, 5 Series. They just people love these things, and they think that they're so great. In terms of like, they're saying that they're like, the best generations of BMW before they went all crazy with the electronics. And I don't disagree in some ways. I mean, like for instance, I had a E46 330xi that I actually really liked that car. It was a great car. Had zero issues with it, really. I mean, a couple little things here and there, but nothing out of the ordinary. And then I also have an E92 335i, and I think that the E46 is just a pure driver's car. Like it's a great driver's car. And I mean, mind you, a lot of people will be like, oh, why'd you get the the XI version? Because I mean, I live in Canada, and in Edmonton we have crappy roads and snow and stuff like that. And I don't really want to drive a rear-wheel drive in the winter. And I mean, I just really like that car. And I mean, yeah, there's a few extra electronics that kind of bug me with the E92. But I mean, there are a lot of better things about the E92 too. So, is what it is, right? But I think that a lot of people really, really love those old BMWs, especially the E30. The prices on them are really crazy and going through the roof. People love the E46, the M3. People love M cars. So it's just like, and like, for instance, E39 M5, like these were just amazing, amazing vehicles. I mean, yes, BMW is a bit of a spotty history on reliability. I mean, they cost a lot to maintain. And I think the biggest issue is that they spend a lot of, I think honestly, they spend too much money, like of their money, just building the actual engine, and they forget about all the components around it that are around it and surround it and make the the car run. So it's like all of a sudden you have like plastic coolant tanks, expansion tanks, and they just crack and break, and plastic charge pipes, and they like stuff that really shouldn't be plastic, but they make plastic, and it's just dumb. Just don't do that. I think that if BMW, like, it's literally like once you solve their dumb little plastic things and you replace them with proper parts, when you're upgrading, especially with the E92, like the 335i with the N54 that everybody says so unreliable. Once you upgrade and you get rid of all the stupid parts, then all of a sudden it's just like, it's an amazing vehicle. No issues with it. But yeah, comparing BMW to Mercedes, I think that Mercedes is doing a good job of what they're doing, and the current lineup is decent. I personally don't like them as a company. I mean, in the sense, like, I don't really like their cars though. I just think that like their design language isn't very good. They've changed a lot in what they look like. Yeah, sure, you have the prominent, the little star thing they have going on. I mean, their relationship with the Daimler Chrysler relationship back in the day was kind of a funky one. But I mean, like, yeah, they're popular. They make okay vehicles. I just don't like them, right? They're not really for me. I just don't like that they went from, you know, boxy kind of edgy looking things, and all of a sudden they get to really weird roundy looking things. Whereas BMW's kind of stayed a little bit more consistent with their design language. And I mean, yeah, you could say that it's changed quite a bit from the, you know, the older ones to the newer ones. But I mean, think about it. You look at a 90s Mercedes, like a 90s Merc, you know it's a 90s Mercedes. It looks like it's from the 90s. You look at a 90s BMW, look at the late gen, like, you know, like look at the early 2000, the early 2000s, the E46 still looks good on today's roads. Like a 330 Ci or 330, like those coupes still look good. An E46 still look good today. Does C-Class from the 90s and early 2000s still look good today? I don't really think so. I think they look really dated and kind of, you know, out of there. I mean, you know, the later generation, the mid 2000s looks a little nicer, but then it's like it very, very telltale, like completely different styling changes, like to what today is. I'm not saying they don't make good cars. It's just meh, in my opinion. Like just meh. That's kind of my take on it. I just prefer BMW. Just me. That is just me. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up probably in a couple of minutes here. So there is stuff that I have to get done today, unfortunately, other than just sitting around. I have to apply for a bunch of jobs, more school stuff. Yeah, but oh, also side note, next week, next live stream, I will be doing a spicy noodle challenge because I was told that I have to do that. But anyways, if you guys have any other questions, I'll keep the live stream on for about another minute. And if you guys have any questions in there, you can just type them in there and I'll answer them. But if not, if I don't get anything within the next kind of minute or so, I'll shut it all down and I'll call it a day. And drink my cold tea, which has just been sitting here. Speaking of which, my cousin got me this mug, which is a pretty cool mug. Ooh, more updates. Fun. Okay. All right. I'm going to sign off here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Awesome. But thanks. Yes. Rolling losing night. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks everybody for who kind of came in, just pop some stuff in there. As always, you know, stay classy, take care, and have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys next week. I'll also be uploading probably another video in the middle of the week talking about more watch stuff. But hey, I need to make more stuff about my Prelude too. It'll come. Anyways, take care. See ya.